It's green. Okay. So the question was, what do you do with Facebook and what's the difference between a page and a profile? So the page has what are called fans, and the profile has what are called friends. This is just a really basic rundown. The page, you get likes, and on the profile, you get friended, if you will. So when somebody's talking about their profile and they're talking about their friends, your profile is limited to 5,000 friends. So if you think about building your Facebook presence over a number of years, eventually you will probably get to the point where if you've networked enough and you're using Facebook to connect with people, you're going to end up at more than 5,000 friends. And at that point, you no longer can add anybody else. So the strategy for a lot of people when they get into business is their goal is to move more people over to their page because there's unlimited likes. The idea is that when somebody likes your page, what you post from your page shows up in their news feed, which is the area where they see what everybody has going on. So as somebody friends you, they're only going to see what's showing up on your profile page, and then as somebody likes you, they're going to see also what's showing up on your business page. So the question is, should I be doing a profile, should I be doing a page, and what should I be posting on either one? My attitude personally is because what I talk about on my profile page is what's going on in my life, engagement photos, stuff that the kids are doing. I also post about business. I'm flying here, I'm flying there, I'm doing Wine, Women, and Wealth. Really, it would be a very similar thing to what I was posting on my business page, if you will. So my business page is currently Mara Hoover, but since I'll be changing my last name soon, I will be changing it to, that's a yucky eraser, Just Mara. It's kind of the personal brand that I've decided that I'm going to focus on. If you're not changing your last name every 7 years, like I have a tendency to do, which is not part of the plan again, but it's just reality, I would like to focus more on a brand just around my first name, since I have a unique first name. If you don't necessarily have a unique first name, you probably want a brand around first name, last name, or some saying. So we're also going to have, for Andre and I, a Life Made to Order page. That's going to be more of our business page, but basically these two things are very similar communication to what I do from this. And I feel like they're all going to be sort of posting similarly. So what you're able to do is if you post on your profile, you can share to your page, and if you post on your page, you can share to your profile. And the whole purpose in doing that is to drive more people over to liking that page. The benefit of a page is everything that you do on Facebook at that point from your page is trackable. So what you'll see is on your profile picture, you only know if people liked or commented. You don't know how many people saw it. You don't know how many people's newsfeed it came across. But if you post on your actual page, every post that you make, it tells you what your interaction percentage was. It tells you how many people saw it, how many news feeds it came across. So it gives you more ability to know what sort of traction you're getting. So if Nicole was using a page to do all of her, let's say she created an actual page that's just Nicole Caplet, and that's the brand that she's going to keep. Or maybe she's not going to keep that. Maybe she's going to get a different last name, in which case she would want to be Nicole something that's not going to have to change. So, because you can't change your page on a whim. You can only change it once. So what she would be able to do is every one of those cute little posts that she's posting, if it's coming from her name or something that's like a personal brand, she would know who saw what, how often it came across. She'd be able to track really the traction of what she's getting in a more scientific way than what she can just get from a profile. So that's some of the reasons why people move into focusing more on a page. I am not of the school of separating life and business. That's just not the way that I function. Now, if I was Coca-Cola, I would not want my CEO, posting pictures of his grandkids picking their nose on my business page. But we are our own brand, and we're networking, and so people really do see us from that perspective, and they want to know what we have going on in our life because it teaches people that we're real. Exactly, and it builds up a connection. So that's the difference between profile and regular page. I think if you're going to do a page, a lot of people have done like name dash 5 Rings Financial dash financial rep. I think that they just want to know you. So if you are driving people to a page that's your name, it's really easy for them to tag you. It's easy for them to have that conversation with your page instead of your profile. Does that kind of make sense? Questions on that?
I kind of lost you where I think you were talking about they can do likes. What is that?
So when somebody starts a page, they usually send their friends an invitation. Will you like my page?
Okay, and then that's the way they join it.
Yes. So instead of friending you, they like you. And if they like your page, then what they're saying is, I like this information. I want this information to show up in my news feed.
Okay, so
yeah.
Your page things are going to show up
in their news feed. Yes, okay. Because they became fans of your page. So once they're a fan, that means I like this, show me more.
If you post something from your page to your profile, can they then like your page from that post?
Well, there's a couple ways to get people to like your page. The first is just to send them a simple request, like my page. The second is if you share something from your page to your profile, then what it shows up as is it would be Mara, right now Hoover, as a person, shared. So I could make a comment about something that I have on my page, and then it would show my page post underneath it, and it would say, just Mara posted this picture and said this. So what I could do is, let's say that I wrote a blog article and I posted it on my page. I would share it to my profile page, and then I would make a comment like, this is my new blog. I've got really cool stuff going on my business page. Click this link to like me. And then I would tag my Just Mara page, and then what you hope is that somebody clicks that link that would then take them back over here where they have the like button that they could like. Does that make sense? So what you're trying to do is do really awesome, juicy content here, get the content pushed over your personal page, and then people say, hey, I like what's going on over there, and then they come back to your page and they like you. Is sort of the idea.
In the beginning, it would be easiest to just go in, create a page, be conscious that whatever you type on there, people are going to be able to learn about you. So put on there what you want people to find out about you.
Right.
And let that be the start. And as you run around Facebook, you'll just see how stuff works.
And it's important to type engaging content.
Right.
Like if they ask open-ended questions.
Right. So there's an entire, you could do 10 weeks on Facebook strategy as far as, posting pictures always gets more response than not posting any picture at all. Asking a question, really interacting. What Facebook is tracking is interaction. When we got engaged, we had over 500 likes in 2 days. So what happened with that photo is even though it had been 2 days, it was still showing up at the top of people's news feeds because it was trending within our community. And so because of that, it stayed at the top, which kept building the likes, which kept getting it more attention. So the more likes you're getting on something, the higher up in your profile it is. So what you want to do is look at some of the posts you've done over the last 3 to 6 months and see which ones got the most traction. And those are the things that your people are paying attention to. So is there a particular photo that you shared, a particular life event, a particular inspirational quote, a particular question that everybody responded to, and just start to look at, okay, what's working, and then you would want to repeat that type of content through your page because then it becomes trackable. And then you know what sort of engagement and interaction you're getting off of the things that you're posting. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about networking from the perspective of what are you doing when you're there. So what exactly is the questions on networking?
Kick it off, Diane.
Yeah, you kick it off.
Well, okay. I've never networked before.
Okay.
Not officially, I guess. So,
Are you married?
Huh?
Have you been married?
Yes.
And that was a lie.
Well, that's what I mean, like, out.
She's never officially gone to a networking event, is what she's saying.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to parties, and so in that sense, of course, I guess.
So just so you know, that's all was network.
Oh, yeah. So I just picture, okay, I walk in the door, and what do I do? No.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, come on up.
I've got my little thingy, my, card box with backup.
You can just leave it there. All right. So, are you married now?
Yes.
And where did you meet your husband? When you were married?
I have a boyfriend now.
Okay. Where did you meet him?
He was my high school boyfriend.
And how did you meet him the first time?
I think he came up to me in the schoolyard and invited me out.
Okay. And I'm purposely trying to make a correlation because what we do in sales and networking is the same as dating. And that's why I asked you if you had a husband, like, because I didn't. So the idea is that when you walk into somewhere, if you walk in and you say, "Hi, I'm looking for a husband or a boyfriend," most people are like, "That gal's a little weird." But you would go in and you would start to just interact. And so that was really my point I was trying to make. No, you can
You're
clip
done?
it on.
Okay.
Yeah, that was done.
Like go over to the food table or whatever and just start, or to go find the organizer. And
Yeah, so there's a couple different ways that you can approach it. So for me, when I go in, I look for the people that look like they're having the most fun. Because I'm here to have a good time. So if there's somebody that's wearing a crazy hat or some colorful shirt or someone that's telling jokes and everybody's around them laughing, those are the people that you probably want to hang out with anyways. So when you get there, you can walk in the door and sort of survey the room. Sometimes we get into this like tunnel and you get in there and you're doing this and you're doing this and you're doing this and you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but and you don't realize that there's this like whole room full of things that you could be observing, but you're just like, okay, I got to get my name tag. Okay, then I got to get a drink. And if I stay quiet and small, maybe no one will notice me. But you're trying to meet people, right? So when you walk in, before you go get a drink and you're like on the warpath, stop and open your eyes and like stand in a corner and just look at the room. Who looks interesting? What looks interesting? Who would you like to connect with? Is there somebody that looks official? And give yourself the ability, instead of trying to just be focused, and say, okay, take a deep breath, stand in the corner and say, all right, I'm here. What are my goals? What would I like to accomplish? Who do I want to meet? And then go about it in a more strategic way instead of pretending like you're wearing your cloak of invisibility and nobody can see you. Because you want to meet people. So you want to look for those key people. Now, you might want the cloak of invisibility if you're trying to get through a big crowd to the food table or the drink table. But you want to be in there, kind of just assess the room. And then begin to walk up to those people. Or if you're not at that place yet where you feel comfortable doing that, find someone wearing a name tag that's an ambassador. Say, hey, I'm new to networking. Would you mind introducing me to a few of the people I should meet? The other thing to remember is everybody that's there is there to network. And so you can literally just walk up to a random group of people, be like, hi, I'm going to interrupt. That's literally what I do. I'll walk up because when I was in Boulder, I didn't know anybody, not a soul. I'm like, I need to meet people. So there would be like 3 women standing there, and I'd just walk up and be like, hi, I'm here to eavesdrop. I'm new. And they'd continue their conversation for a little bit, and I'm standing there just like participating. And eventually, they stop and they're like, hey, so what do you do? Or I'll like throw in a comment. So you have permission to not necessarily follow the normal standards of communication when you're networking. Interrupting is okay. Butting in is okay. Eavesdropping is okay. Yeah, assume. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm the awkward one standing here with a group of people that I don't know. Whatever. I mean, that's.
Well, one thing I've noticed is here in California,
Uh-huh.
generally, people are just much more friendly. So they just automatically start talking to me, or
Right.
and I'm like, oh, that's nice. Thank you.
It's really about the attitude that you bring to it. Networking is kind of awkward. So you can make jokes about, like, there's a bunch of people who don't know each other, and we're all in a room trying to get to know each other, and it's kind of weird. And it just is what it is. But you know that all of those people that are there feel the exact same way. Or at least when they first started, they felt the exact same way.
That's where I was
Okay.
heading with the dating question. I'm
Yeah.
one of those guys, I do not like no for an answer. I will shy away from it. Like, I won't date, because if I get rejection, it's a problem. And so,
But you're great with sales.
and I'm not, actually, I'm not great with sales. I'm great with relationships.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that I like about what we do, is that I don't have to be a salesperson. I can just build a relationship. And the dating piece for me is, and the example is, you have to do something to get noticed, whether that means you walk up and just say, hi, I'm so-and-so. Hi, I'm so-and-so. If you're strategic, you'll walk up to the person that you want to meet, and that's where I was going with the boyfriend, is how did you meet him? Somebody said something to one of you. You said something to him, and he said something to you. So in networking, it's the same idea, is find somebody that you want to meet. And just go up and, it is just going out.
Introduce yourself.
My goal in networking is to build a relationship, not to get people to know what I do.
Right.
I'll actually, when somebody says, what do you do, I'll ignore them. Usually 2 times. And I'll just turn it around and say, so what brings you here tonight? How'd you find us?
Come up here, please.
If you want to redo the dating thing
Yes.
on camera, I will volunteer Trudy because she'll do a great job.
Yes, you do. She would.
Like, do a role play, you mean?
No, it's okay.
Or-
I don't even go there. So you want me to repeat? Is that what
Yeah,
brought me
well,
up?
I think that the important thing to understand with networking is not necessarily that you're there to tell people what you do. There's so much agony over the 30-second commercial. What do I say? What do I say? What do I say? The idea is that when you get in front of somebody and you're having a conversation, you don't necessarily care what they do until you know if you like them as a human being. And so what Andre's very good at is when he's meeting somebody, he's talking to them about their life and what they do and what they like to do. And he's not asking them about business. And if they're talking about business, he'll figure out a way to move them out of talking about business. And when then they cycle back around and they ask, what do you do? He changes the subject. So just speak to that.
So yeah, the questions I'll ask, and these are the easy questions for me, is, so how'd you find us? How'd you end up at this group? And what I've done is I've disarmed it immediately, because people who are new to networking, they say, so what do you do? And I don't want to talk about what you do yet, because I don't want to tell you what I do until I know more about you. So I'll ask, so how did you find us? Or how did you end up here? Another question I'll ask is, so what do you do when you're not here? For fun. You have to add the for fun part, because I don't want the work answer. And so how long have you lived in Colorado? How long have you lived in California? And now we end up at this story. So what my goal is to get talking to people about who they are, where they came from, how many kids do you have, why do you live in California? Oh, no kidding, you used to live in Boston? And I'm always looking for something to relate. You know, we were talking to this gal, Diane, earlier, and she told us something about Boston. I'm like, oh, no kidding, I was born there. You know, I just happened to be born in Massachusetts. And once I get down that road of finding out who they are, oh, no kidding. So where did you used to work? Oh, I used to work at Oracle. Oh, no kidding. How was that? I loved it. It was for so many years, and then Sun Microsystem bought them out. I'm like, no kidding. And then HP bought them out. I'm like, no kidding. And
What has he just learned? You had 3 401ks that you need to roll over.
right. So I'm targeting. I mean, my questions are very purposeful. You can tell a lot by the way somebody's dressed. You know, if they're in the construction industry, or if they're a business professional, or if they're a stay-at-home mom. And by asking those questions, there'll come a point where I've always got control. That's the other thing. If you're the one asking questions, you have control of the situation. By having control of the situations, they can't ask you, so what do you do? Right? I hate it when people say, so what do you do? And And I'll usually come up with, well, on this ice, I'm an ice salesman. I have this, we have this truck that only carries one thing of ice. So I go down, I pick up the ice, I deliver it to you, and then I got to run back down to Denver and get another thing of ice. Do you know anybody who's looking to buy ice? And they're like, what? Because I don't want to tell them what I do yet. And I was like, well, I figured it doesn't really matter what I do yet because I don't know if we like each other, so who cares what I do? And they laugh. And they're like, oh. And I just taught them something too. Don't start with, what do you do? That's right. And so I make the joke just to get them laughing and make them comfortable, and then I take them down this road of how to find out about them. So when you go back to the dating stage, you know, what are you asking people? You're just wanting to find out about them. What's their history? Where are they from? Do you have kids? You know, what do you do for fun?
Yeah, what you're doing is you're fishing to see if when you're dating, you're fishing to see if they have issues, right? Like, oh, you're 60 and you've never been married.
Why?
Yeah. What's wrong with this picture? So you're fishing with questions to figure out, would I want to date this person or not? Same thing with networking. You're fishing to figure out when we finally do talk about what it is that I do, which one of the 10 different ways that I could talk about what I do I want to use? If you find out, if it's a grandparent and they're just talking up one side and down the other about their grandkids, which way would you maybe want to go? $1 Million Baby.
So let's take that step, is that when you've learned about them, you find out all this stuff, and then you pause. And when you pause, they will usually say, so what do you do? Now I'm ready to answer. If it's the guy that I was talking to about Oracle and Sun and HP, I'll say, oh, I show clients how to roll their money, their 401ks, into guaranteed accounts that never lose money. And I'm going, fish, I hope this is the right answer. I hope he has 3 401ks and he's lost money over the last bunch of years. If it's grandma that I'm talking to and she just talked about her 3 grandkids and they say, so Andre, what do you do? I'll say, I show parents and grandparents how to build tax-free college savings accounts in accounts that will never lose money. So I'm profiling. You know, that there's that old adage, you look at people's shoes and their nails and their hair. So all I'm doing by asking questions is I'm profiling, and I'm trying to find out what's my answer. And if I don't know where to go with it at all, then I'll say, I build living benefits accounts for clients. Or in my Chamber of Commerce, I'll often use the one, I teach business owners how to move money tax advantaged out of their business, grow it tax deferred, and access it tax free. And it's a mouthful if you're new. These guys are going, yes, I know about those accounts. This makes sense to me. So if it's a business owner, yep, I show them how to move money out of their business tax advantaged.
Business.
Out of their business tax advantaged. I'll say grow it tax deferred. And I'm a stickler on the word. And access it tax-free anytime. So if it's a grandma, if it's somebody, I build tax-free college savings accounts that never lose money.
And if you're really new, if you're talking to a woman and you've had a conversation, then they ask, what do you do? You say, I co-host a really cool event for women called Wine, Women, and Wealth. And you can say it's a community of women supporting each other around how they relate to money.
Right.
And I'd love to invite you. Would you be interested in that? And the answer is always yes.
It is.
And then you invite them. And you didn't have to say anything about tax advantaged,
Right.
tax deferred, tax free. It's just getting them to the next step, which is the Wine, Women, and Wealth. Or you could say something about Money 101. My company hosts a really cool class where the executives from our company fly out from Colorado and they come and teach all of the principles about money that we should have learned in 3rd grade. And it's a really cool, easy way to say, do you want to come to Money 101?
When I first started, because I didn't know any of the words, I kind of thought I was hot shit because I built a house. I built a $1.5 million house on the top of a mountain. I was a general contractor. And I called some friends, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got into this financial services company. I'm going to come be your financial guy. And they said, who, well, there were some explicitives, but they said, who do you think you are? You're a general contractor. And Lyle and Mike had told me this would happen. I was like, no, come on. I wrote the check. I mean, I wrote $1.5 million worth of checks and paid these people. So I had to have financial credibility in their eyes. But in their eyes, I was just a general contractor. So what I learned from that after I blew that up a couple of times is I changed it to I just went to work for this financial services company, and I'm a marketing rep, and I connect people with a guy named Lyle Donnelly, and he's a financial genius.
I love that for new people.
Yeah, because it puts, what it does is, unless you do money already, you and I have absolutely no financial credibility in anybody's eyes, period. And we even have negative credibility in our mother, brother, sister, cousin, husband, siblings, friends, boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, our peer group. Anybody who knows us. We could go to Best Buy and we could sell TVs all day long, and people would come buy TVs from us because Best Buy is going to back it, even if we quit. But when you're talking about money, because it's people's biggest thing, it's their biggest thing in their life, people want to see that you're serious. And so I knew to leverage Lyle and the company. And so for me, it's really easy to say, I'm in this training program for a financial services company.
For somebody new, if you're using it, I'm doing marketing, then you don't have to be afraid of people asking you questions
Right.
about specifics that you're not ready to
Right.
answer.
I'm the marketing rep. I took on the marketing role for our company. And they're going to ask you a question. Say, hold on a sec. Let me write that down. You got another one? Oh, write that down. Yeah, write that down. Oh, this is great. You know, you're who we're looking for. You obviously have some questions. Let me book you a time to speak with Lyle. And the three of us will get together. Let me book you a time to speak with Mara. Let me book you a time to meet with Nicole. And so what now what happens is that you've taken yourself out of having to answer the questions, because that's when I feel dumb. Right. It comes back to me to the dating thing. I don't want to not have the answer. I don't want to ever be in a position where I get no. And so I'm giving them enough information that they ask me some questions, and then I connect them. The other piece is by saying that you're in a financial services program, think about all the people today that have
Training. Yeah. So one of the
financial services training program.
when he says I'm in a training program, he's automatically saying I don't know everything.
Right.
So he's setting it up really easily. So I didn't want that to be missed. That when you say I just went to work for this company and I'm in a financial services training program, it automatically, if you don't have the answer, it's okay. And you're saying I have an expert in my pocket who you can meet.
So great example. I have a gentleman who works some type of labor job from 7 a.m. to 3 in the afternoon, found our ad for a financial services training program, got involved. So 8 months ago, we did his hiring pack. He's an agent with our company. He works because of his work schedule and a baby and a wife. He doesn't come to TNT. A couple times he's watched some stuff. But what he says is, so he's at work. He called me Thursday night before TNT, and he says, "Hey Andre, this guy Bob just came to work for our company. He used to work for Kodak."
And this is a person that you hadn't spoken to
5 months.
in 5 months. Somebody that he hired that just has been busy and he hasn't spoken to in 5 months.
And he called me. He's like, "Hey, I apologize for not being." I was like, "Hey, no, don't worry about it. You're in our training program. It's no big deal." He's like, I'm interested. I'm still excited. I'm still talking to people about it. This guy from Kodak just started to work at our company, and we got talking about. I told him that I was in this training program, this financial services training program. Okay, so what that does is he can go and have this full-time job as a laborer, but say, "I'm in this training program." I mean, think about all the people that you and I know that are out getting a college degree, right? They're trying to get a college degree while they work some other job. And the reason they're doing the training, the college degree, is because they want to better their job. So people get that. They're really comfortable. So he tells me, this guy Bob, we got talking about it. Well, he has $500,000 and he wants to reinvest it. And he used to work for Kodak and now he has access to his money. I told him that he should meet with you. So he's coming to the Money 101 that I'm doing 2 Wednesdays from now in his town. So it was a great way because I've learned that when you have new people, to frame the words and what I want them to tell people. I'll never use a word with somebody new that I don't want them to repeat to their brother, cousin, aunt, uncle, friend, business owner, because they will. And so that's just like you were a stickler with workshop versus seminar. I'm a stickler with we build tax-free savings accounts, we build privatized pensions, we do living benefits.
Not term life insurance,
You won't-
IULs, annuities.
Right. Does that make right? Do you know the difference? Okay, and it took me a while to get it, but you know what the different words are for different things, and people usually go, "Well, what's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a great question. It's an account that goes up, and the money never goes down." It's a really easy answer. Does that help?
Big time.
Awesome. Other networking questions? Or is that?
Okay, so, no, we're almost there. I can see it. So you said, so finally you got to telling them what you do and maybe the one-on-one, or, right, so when do you give them a business card or a One Women Wealth invite card or Money 101 invite card?
One of the easiest transition phases that I've found, because part of networking is people are there from a strategic perspective, they're there to meet a number of people. So really, you probably don't want to have more than a 5-minute conversation with someone.
Right.
So at some point, you'll have talked to them, you'll get to know a little bit about them personally, you'll mention Money 101 or Wine, Women, and Wealth, and then you can say, well, I know we're both here to network, but I've really, really enjoyed our conversation. I would love to grab your business card and give you mine so that we can connect further and maybe grab coffee. And you're doing a test close so that when you call them and you say, hey, remember, or you can just say, hey, we talked about grabbing coffee. I would love to do that, get together. I really enjoyed our conversation. Is Wednesday or Thursday better for you?
So my goal when I first started networking for 5 Rings was to go to events and meet people, collect business cards. Giving them my business card was an excuse to get there. So now I had their name, their phone number, their email. I could contact them. And there's a book out there by Jeffrey Gitomer called The Little Black Book of Connections. If you haven't read it, I would read it or download it on Audible. But that one might be worth reading. It's such an easy read, and it's very visual. It's a Little Black Book of Connections by Jeffrey Gitomer. One of the things he talks about is that the goal of a networking event is for you to go there and leave with 20 people's contact information. He says you should have an average of a 2 to 5 minute conversation with somebody to figure out just enough that their breath isn't so bad that you don't want to ever talk to them again, to figure out that they at least take a shower, and that, you know what, there's something cool about this person, or they do something that could benefit us, you, in your business. So that's the whole goal of a networking event, is to just make that 2 to 5 minute conversation to figure out, should you meet again? So when I first started, my goal was to collect those cards and then call all those people and book coffee appointments with them afterwards. And I'd go in that coffee appointment, get together with them, and my goal again was to get them to tell me about everything that they do. Now I would take it a little bit more into business. So what's your business? How did you get started that? Who's your ideal client? Why do you like it? If I could refer somebody to you, and not Zig Ziglar, Bob Berg would say, you know, if I could refer somebody to you, who would be the best referral that I could give you? So that would be my purpose of my coffee meeting. And somewhere between the 37th minute and the 52nd minute in that meeting, I would say, hey, let me run an idea by you. And based on what they told me, I would pick one napkin presentation, do a 5-minute napkin presentation. And that would be my answer to what do you do? Because they would inevitably say, what do you do? So what do you do, Andre? And I liked, for some of them, I liked either the privatized pension, we call it dots and lines, you know, or the living benefits presentation. This is your income, this is your expenses, we go through life making money. Sometimes we have a life event. When that happens, our income goes down, our expense goes up. I would draw one of those two napkin presentations for people, and that would be my answer to what do you do. So my goal for networking was build enough relationship to get back with them, and then in that second appointment, show them one of those two presentations. So that when they left that point, they're like, wow, he does that? And at the end, I might say, hey, you know, the company that I'm in a training program for, they host a free dinner workshop. It's no sales. Would you be interested in getting an invite from me next time we get one? That trial close. I don't want to get a no. So I don't want to invite them. I want to say, they host it. would you like an invite next time they do it? And I get a yes or a no. If they say yes, I'd take their card or I'd write a note and I'd say invite to next Money 101. If it's a woman, I'd invite them to the next Wine, Women, and Wealth. And then,
Or if they're really, really interested, you could say, hey, I know you're asking a lot of questions, and like I mentioned, I'm in the training program, and I was really excited to share this with you, and I'd love to introduce you to my mentor. Would you be interested in getting more information if the three of us got together? Something like that. How would you say that?
I would, yeah. When they were asking me some questions, I'd say, hey, it sounds like you want to know more, so let's get back together. And I'd open my calendar, and I'd have Lyle's calendar in my calendar, and I would book a time that Lyle was available. And I'd say, hey, let's get together this time. And so we would get together, and I said, you know, sometimes, depending on the person, I might say, I'm going to bring somebody, but I'll be honest, I shied away from that because when you're brand new, you're like, how do I frame it? What do I say? Am I going to scare somebody off? So I would just book the appointment, but I'd put it on Lyle's calendar. I'd call Lyle, confirm, he'd put it. So next week when we got together, I would just bring Lyle. They'd show up. And then I'd say, hey, Lyle is the guy that's training me, and he was available today. We were doing some other stuff together, so I brought him along. And I figured you might have questions that I can't answer. And then I'd zip it, and I'd let Lyle do the whole presentation. And that for me, made it really simple because I wanted to watch how Lyle did that. So my whole goal, again, was just to connect people with Lyle as I got started. And now it's to teach people how to use the words to be comfortable enough to connect them with me or Lyle. And it's interesting because today I can meet with somebody in the first 17 seconds. I can tell whether I'm the messenger or I can close this. And what happens is that as soon as they, like, I meet with these older guys who are like, man, I got olderwear under than you. They don't, underwear. They don't say that, but I can see them look at me like, man, I forgot more than you've learned. And so I'll still talk to them about what we do, little bits of it. And then when they say, yeah, this sounds good, I'll say, you know what, you're probably going to have some questions. I was like, so next time we get together, I'm going to bring Lyle. He's like 20 years my senior. He's got a whole bunch of wrinkles, and he's been doing this since the Titanic. And what I just told this person is I made them laugh, but I also made them go, I get it that you don't think I'm smart enough or old enough to be able to offer this to you, so I'm going to bring somebody who is. But you can't say that directly to most people. So I'm just framing it in their subconscious brain of how I want them to hear it. And that's why Money 101 works, by the way, is because you and I get to bring people to Money 101, and it's third party, some other guy who looks like he's an expert, whether he is or isn't. Most of the time it is, right? That's part of the rule. But we're bringing people to somebody, and they know their stuff. And when you can eloquently explain what we're doing and talk about, we garner so much credibility because we don't try to sell at Money 101. And it's there's a book called Getting Naked, if you haven't seen it. That book called Getting Naked talks about the difference between selling somebody through sales versus just jumping in and teaching them what you do. And how there's really successful businesses today that do so much business because they never try to sell what they do. They just meet with somebody and they jump right in and start teaching them what we do. And that's where when we do napkin presentations, what we're doing is we're just jumping right in and starting to teach people what they need to know without even asking their permission. Do you want to know this? We just like, here's what I'm an expert at. And we show them. And people, that really stands out. You want a chair for your leg? That help?
All right. Don't go away yet. We don't know if there's going to be more questions.
How do you transition from a conversation so that you're not standing there for half an hour, someone telling you about their grandkids?
Yeah. So you could say, just as you're standing there talking, and you're kind of getting to the point where you already know, okay, this person, I either need to tell them what I do, invite them to an appointment with my mentor, talk to them about Wine, Women, and Wealth, or talk to them about Money 101. You can say, I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I know we're both here at a networking event to meet different people, so I don't want to monopolize your time. Let me get your business card so that we can follow up, and I'd love to grab a cup of coffee with you. Or let me get your business card so that I can invite you to the next Wine, Women, and Wealth or Money 101, whatever you've mentioned. But then you're saying, I was monopolizing your time, and you're not saying you're monopolizing my time.
Yeah, I'll always own it. I'll just be like, hey, this is great, but if you keep letting me talking, we'll have only met each other for the next 2 hours. I was like, so hey, here's my card. Let me get yours. Let's get back together. We're here to meet other people, so let's go do that. And again, I'm teaching them because as an ambassador at my chamber, I'm trying to teach all those people that don't know how to do that. I'm trying to teach it to them without teaching it to them. And Jeffrey's that book by Jeffrey Gitomer, he talks about that. And so that transition is just like, hey, we're here to meet more people. Let's go do that. And then if you get that person who wants to be drama and they really want to just talk to you about, oh, and they're throwing up on you, and you can see the throw up on your feet, and it's down the front of you, and you're starting to smell. Yeah, vomiting. Yeah, I mean, when that happens, I'm like, oh, I got to go meet Bob over there. I got to get going. It was great meeting you. And I just walk away.
Yeah, you can do that, or you can say, oh, I just saw that person. You really need to meet that person, and then pass that person off to that person, and then say, okay, see you later.
Yep.
You are the weakest link. I will not be booking a coffee appointment with you. Yeah.
I do that a lot when we're talking. I'm sitting talking to somebody, and then somebody else comes and joins the conversation. I'll stop. I'll introduce them. I'm like, do you two know each other? They're like, no. I'm like, oh, Bob, this is Chris. Chris, this is Bob. And I'll let them talk. And then I'll be like, hey, I got to run. And I'll walk away, and I'll let them keep talking. Or if they won't stop talking, we'll be sitting, and I'll be like, look. And somebody will walk by, I'll be like, and I'll grab them. And I'm like, have you guys met? If I do know them, I introduce them. If I don't know them, I'm like, have you guys met? And I'm like, well, this is Bob. Bob? And I just shut up. And this guy goes, oh, I'm Chris. Because I don't always remember everybody's name. And so I've just learned that awkward pause, people usually will save you. And they'll tell somebody your name. Yeah. And you make it fun. I teach at our chamber, the goal of networking is how many business cards can you leave with tonight? And I don't mean just go and grab business cards, but the goal is to meet people and figure out if you want to meet them again. And so we'll do this little thing of, hey guys, 2 to 5 minutes, that's the goal. You're not here as a social club to hang out with that same person in that back corner having 4 beers. You came here to meet folks. So do that.